least a few minutes, or I'll check it out anyway, because this is the first time I'm taping in this room, so I'm trying to see if it's clear, if it's blurry, if it's so on and so forth. Okay, so today, everyone see what I'm doing? Okay, so first of all, what is a plus b? It has a name. What is this called? Or a minus b for that matter. What are these called?
Variables.
I also want to show something that I highly recommend in all your classes, a little notebook in which you write, this is what I learned in this class, Math 137. The first is today, you can put the date in and say, I learned what a plus b is called, and this is the name. Then I learned how to square a plus b, and the result is called blah, blah, blah. Why? If you keep a log of all the information, all new things, this is like a foreign language. If I can't at least say to you, hello, good morning, whatever, then I can communicate with you. And it's the same with math. If I don't know the terminology, if I don't know what is the meaning of blah, 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 how will I be able to understand what I'm asked to do, for example? So I recommend something level like this, in which you write down all the important information, starting from today till the end of the semester. Now, you're not going to have the book after this semester, right? Because you haven't purchased, and I don't recommend you purchase the hard copy of the book, and you will no longer have access to my math lab, to the book online. So at least you are moving forward with some knowledge and some skill coming out of this class. Okay, not just your notes, because your notes are going to be like this by the end of the semester. You're not going to be able to do this and go back all the time to that big notebook. But if you have a little one and you write down all the important information, terminology, new things that you learned that you didn't know before, then you will make progress. And this is valid for all classes, not just for this one. Good. So I'm still waiting for the name of a plus b, or x plus y, or 2x minus 3y. How are these called?
Binomials.
Thank you. These are binomials. Why? They consist of what?
Two variables.
Two terms. Awesome. Yes. This is a term. This is the term. A is a term. B is a term. So two terms. So a binomial consists of adding or subtracting two terms. Adding or subtracting two terms. Since we're here, I'd like to ask you, what about a times b? How are these called? They can be called terms, because I just said that two terms or terms are added or subtracted. So how are they called? Since they are not added and subtracted, but they are multiplied. Anything that has, like this situation, two quantities multiplied, these two are called factors. Factors are two quantities or more that are multiplied. Quantities that are multiplied. Good. So finally, we're going back to our first item on the agreement, which is a plus b, everything squared. Okay, ready? So what am I trying to do here? I'm trying to square a
Binomial.
Thank you. I'm trying to square a binomial. Perfect. For now, we are going to FOIL it, but never again. So how do I get a plus b squared? By simply multiplying a plus b by a plus b. Agreed or not? Good. So then how do I FOIL?
First numerator, last.
Very good. A squared plus. I did this, and now I'm doing this. Plus. Very good. Plus. Plus AB again. Plus. Awesome. As you see, when we FOIL two binomials, we get initially how many terms? How many terms? How many quantities that are added?
2.
1, 2, 3, 4. Good. However, we can combine like terms.
A squared plus 2ab plus b squared.
So whenever we have this formula, we understand where does this quantity come from. Where does it come from? From adding two terms. That's why the 2 in front. Agreed? Okay, perfect. So then this is what we're going to write. We're going to write a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. And now you're going to tell me what is this. What does the second one equal to? And that's our second item on the agreement.
Same thing, just with the minus sign instead of a plus.
Correct. Where? Awesome. That is the correct answer, but where?
In both binomials, it's a minus b times a minus.
So just dictate.
Let's see.
It's going to have the same, right?
Yes.
With a minor difference. Which difference? Where?
In the what I just said in the I'm terrible today.
That's okay.
But like I said, in each binomial instead of plus
Correct.
b,
Just try to mimic. Just guess. You don't have to do anything. Just guess for the second one, if you want.
I'm gonna say it's the same.
It cannot be the same. Is a plus b the same with a minus b?
No, I mean the answer.
Is a plus b the same with a minus b?
No, it's not.
No. So the two cannot be the same. So what is different? Where? Exactly, indeed. A squared minus 2ab plus b squared. Very good. Now let's make up two examples, one for each. So can anyone give us an example?
I can't.
Yes, go ahead.
I just said I can't.
You cannot. I'm sorry. Forgive me. Very good. I will. 2x plus 3y, everything squared. Before we write anything for this, I would like us to draw the final conclusion. And let's say a binomial squared. What will that equal to? A binomial squared equals?
A trinomial.
Awesome. Awesome. Perfect. That's all I needed. And this is carved in stone from now on, right? Right? Yes? Everyone is in on this game? Okay. Very good. So now can anyone dictate? And no, we're not foiling it anymore. Can you? Sure. Will you fall behind? Yes. Will you be able to factor later on? No. If you continue to foil this, you will never be able to. I shouldn't say never. I have doubts that you will be able to go back from here to here if you continue foiling it. Is it wrong? No. Will you get full credit if you foil? Yes. Will you make headway? No. So I recommend move away from foiling something like this. Okay? Because factoring it will be very difficult or impossible. Good. So let me write it in words. So before we write the answer here, when we look at this, or when I look at this, I see the first term, this is called the first term, plus the second term, everything squared, right? So this is the first term. It doesn't have to be A. A is nice, but look, it's 2x. Or it could even be 2x cubed.
Leading term.
Or 3y to the fourth. So this is the first term, and then plus, and then this is the second term. Now, here's the pattern. And I know it sounds like a little tune, and I'm hoping that you will remember this tune. First term plus the second term, everything squared, is the first term squared plus, can anyone continue? 2 times
First term and the second.
Times the second term plus,
Second term squared.
awesome. So if you, on your way home tonight and the next few days, you drive and you say first term plus second term, everything squared is first term squared plus 2 times the first times the second plus the second term squared, it will click and you will never forget it. Of course, if I have minus here, I'll have minus here. So using this pattern, I would like us to come up with this without foiling it. So please square the first term, 2x cubed squared. What will you write?
4x squared.
4x cubed squared is
4 to the 6th.
very good. So when we square a term, we have to square each factor in the term.
You multiply the coefficient by however much you're
Yes,
exponentiating
correct.
it by.
So I squared 2 and I got 4, and I squared x to the third and I got x to the sixth. Then I have to copy plus. Now remember the pattern. I multiplied the terms and then I multiplied by 2. So I have to multiply 2x cubed by 3y to the fourth. 2x cubed, 3y to the fourth. What do I get?
2x.
6x cubed y to the fourth. Multiply by 2 in front. Why 2 in front? Because of this. So I have 6x cubed y to the fourth multiplied by 2.
12.
Very good. Very good. Plus, I reached the
9y to the
final
8th.
term. Say it again.
9y to the 8th.
Very good. Again, this is all based on the pattern. Once I learn the pattern, you can give me anything and I can fill in the gaps. So let's do just that. So give me another one. Now one with a minus.
8x minus 4y.
8x minus 3y.
I said 4, but okay.
That's fine. It's because I could factor out the 4 and I didn't want to confuse anyone. I'm not going to factor it. That's why.
That's fine.
That's fine. Good. So can anyone give us the first term?
64x squared.
Awesome. The sign.
Minus.
Awesome. Now remember, multiply the terms first, and then at the end, multiply by 2. Eight x times 4y is 32xy. And I have to multiply by 2. So the first term is 8x, the second term is 4y. 8x times 4y is 32xy, multiplied by 2 is 64xy. Is that okay? Is this clear? Are you with me? Okay, plus the second term squared.
16y squared.
Awesome. Good. One more. Here it is. Our third item on the agreement. And then we can start. What does this equal to? Say it again.
A squared minus b squared.
Awesome. The difference of squares. So what are the concepts that we just learned in the last 10 minutes, right? Binomial. A binomial squared is a trinomial. Terms, factors, the pattern, right, for those two, and now the difference of squares. So I would add all these pieces of information. If I did not know them before class, I will add them in my little notebook with new information, new knowledge, new terminology, and so on and so forth. I recommend that. Good. So let's make up an example like this. Can anyone make up an example for us?
Two x to the fifth minus 3x squared, 3y squared. I guess either way, but
Good. And
5x to the third.
let's go back to the pattern that we see here. You see that this is the same with this?
Oh, right.
You see that this
Yeah,
is the same with this?
yeah, they're both the same except for the
Awesome.
thing in the middle.
I could have not said it better. Thank you. So
So then,
I have no choice.
So then 2x to the fifth plus 3y squared.
Awesome. We're not foiling anymore because we're not going backwards. We're moving forward. So what will be the final answer here? The final answer.
4x to the 10th.
The first term squared, 4x to the 10th. It's a difference of squares, so this must be minus the second term
Not
squared.
going to the fourth.
That's it. Any questions on these three? They come from your previous math adventures. This is nothing new for today.
You know something?
That's why I wanted to carve this in stone so we can move forward. I don't want you to write anything on the second piece of paper. I just want your signature. I'm not doing anything with them. I will return them to you at the end of the semester. Okay? So just sign that you acknowledge these three. The second one, the blank one. And I'll get it. You don't have to write anything else. This is our game. This is our agreement. Just sign it and just put it on. Any questions? So by signing this, you're saying to me, I will study this today and I will know it forever, right?
As long as I can remember.
As long as you can remember. Yes, I agree. I promise I'm not
Because
gonna.
forever is kind of a hard promise to make.
Yes, I completely agree. So, no. Oh yes. Thank you. You don't have to write anything for me. Just your signature on this one. No, just your signature here. So I get it. Very good. This is our game, our promise. Thank you. Please remind me to return them to you. I don't understand that little part, but you have to. Yes. What do you guys learn? Yes.
Because I don't really understand that middle part.
When you say the middle part, what do you mean?
When we get the right here.
The middle part
Yeah,
is
decided not to do 4.
it's the 2 times A times B. So this times this is 32xy.
Right.
Multiplied by this 2 is 64xy.
Oh,
That's the pattern. That's why we wrote it. That's why we wrote it as the first term plus second term. Everything squared. Thank you. 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 And thank you. Thank you. And just one.
Okay.
Yeah, that's yours. Okay. Very good. Thank you for bearing with me. This is our commitment that we will remember this. Good. So now we did not talk about these two handouts, right? Okay. So these two handouts are basically for faculty. I made copies for all of you because I want you to know exactly the topics we're going to cover and how extensive and how important they are and so on and so forth. So in 1.1, graphs and plotting and graphing utilities. This is what we're interested in graphing equations by plotting points, linear equations, absolute value, quadratic and cubic equations, how to graph using a graphing calculator, la la la. And then in 1.2, the definition of a linear equation in one variable, solving simple 1-2 step linear equations and so on and so forth, solving multi-step and applications, and everything is written here, okay? Also, this handout, again, is for faculty, but I want you to have a copy. So this handout outlines again each and every topic that we should and have to master in this class, okay, all of them, including this first page that is extremely important. So I'm going to try to follow this and stay within this limits because of lack of time, not because this is all I want to present to you. But of course, I will always answer your questions. Okay, so these are, again, 2 documents that were created by the math department, not by me. And I want you to have a copy, again, because I want you to know what we're looking for in this class. Any questions before we start with 1.1 and 1.2? Any questions for me? Any questions? I know I only have 25 minutes left, so let's start with 1.1, 1 through 39. So if you have your book, fine. You don't have to. As I said, I need a book. So I am going to start by graphing a linear equation, continue with an absolute value equation, and take it from there. So 1.1, linear equations, functions. Okay. On page 102, I would like to look at problem 19. And this is y equals -1/2 x. We are asked to graph this equation. Now, first of all, what type of equation is it?
Linear.
Yes. How do I know it's linear?
Well, it follows the y equals mx plus b formula.
Awesome answer. But I have to add something to it. Your colleague is perfectly correct. He said it looks kind of similar to this. It has a number in front of x, and if I want, I can put 0 here. So then this is 0.
That's just the most basic way I could think of putting it.
That's a very good answer. So that's why this is a linear equation or function. Now, there are other reasons why this is linear, or another way of explaining it, I should say. True. So here is what I'm going to say. Number 1, I know this is linear because x and y have power, how much?
1.
Exactly. Number 2, x and y, or y, are not in the denominator. They're not in the denominator. For example, y equals 1 over x. It appears that x has power 1. It doesn't really. It has -1. And y has 1. But this is not a linear equation. Okay? So power 1, x and y. Actually, y has to be in the problem. X doesn't have to. It is still a linear equation. So even y equals 3, even y equals 3 is linear. Good. So every time we graph an equation, a function, what are the most important points that we look for?
Y-intercept.
Awesome, the x and y intercepts. So let's talk about x-intercept and y-intercept. So let's look at this graph. I'm graphing a function. Here's my graph. And I'm going to ask you, does this graph have an x-intercept?
Yes, it has 2.
2. Here is one x-intercept. Here's the other. So they are x-intercepts. 2. Does this graph have a y-intercept?
1.
Yes. It has a y-intercept, which is this. Good. Now, can anyone give us the equation of this line, which is the x-axis? What is the equation of the x-axis?
Y equals 0.
Awesome. Do you all agree with that?
Yeah.
So altitude 0, y equals 0 is the equation of the x-axis. All points, this point, any point on this line has y equals 0. That's the reason why this equation is denoted by, or has this line has the equation y equals 0. Perfect. What about this vertical line that is the y-axis?
X equals 0.
Do you all agree with x equals 0? It's the position when x is 0. This is the altitude when y is 0. This is the position, x is 0. Awesome. So the equation of the y-axis is x equals 0. Perfect. So coming back to our example, our problem. So our problem was y equals negative 1/2 x. I would like to determine the x-intercept. How do I determine the x-intercept? How do I determine this point or this point?
Making Y equals 0.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So y equals 0. Indeed. In order to find the x-intercept, I have to set y equal to 0. Is that clear? Is everyone okay with that? Yes? Any questions?
Well, then you substitute Y for 0.
Good.
0 equals
So I have 0 equals negative 1/2 times x. So a number times what number will give us x? Oops. Well, a number times what number will give us 0? Sorry.
0.
Awesome. Obviously, x equals 0. What is the ordered pair that we just determined for this graph?
The origin,
Which is?
0, 0.
Awesome. So now the y-intercept would have no meaning because the graph of this function or equation passes through the origin. So that is also the y-intercept. So I have to make up another point. Remember when I graph, what type of graph will a linear equation have?
Straight line.
A straight line. A straight line needs more than one point. It needs exactly 2. So through this point, I can draw as many lines I want. But through 2 points, I can only draw 1. So I have to make up another point.
Negative 1, 2.
I can't.
Why not?
Because it's a very good point you're making. I cannot just say negative 1, 2.
Well, I'm not just saying that. I'm going, well, I sort of am, but I'm also just sort of going off the fact of the slope variable right there, negative 1 over 2.
Right, but then the answer would not be 2. You cannot pick a point that you want. You can only pick one of the variables.
Negative 1, negative 2.
Correct.
Right.
Right. So,
Because negative slope it goes down.
no, it's negative 1, it's positive 1/2. So don't rush.
Okay.
So let's make up another point, but I cannot make up x and make up y. I can choose one or the other. So let's pick up an x value that is convenient in this situation. 2 is convenient. Please plug it in. Take your time for a moment. Take a moment and tell me what is y.
1.
Careful. Negative 1. I agree. So do you understand that you cannot say 7, 3? You have to pick
I have a
x.
bad habit of that.
No, it's okay. You have to pick x and determine y, or you pick y and determine the corresponding x. So what is the ordered pair? Do we all understand how we got -1? So we plugged it in. -1/2 times 2/1. I simplified. 1, 1, 1, 1 with minus in front. That's how I got -1. So what is the ordered pair that we just determined here?
2 and -1.
Very good. Now we have everything we need to graph this function. First ordered pair is 0, 0. The second ordered pair is 2, comma, -1. Are you with me so far? Yes? So here is the line. Connect, extend. Please write its name somewhere close to the graph. Anywhere you want. The graph has to have the equation somewhere. Any questions? Any questions on this? Okay, so let's look at problem 24 on 102. Y equals the absolute value of x minus 1. Any questions for me, please? Any questions? Okay, what is this? What type of equation is it?
Technically, I don't know, it's not linear because it ends at 0.
No, that's not the reason why it's not linear. Of course, it has an absolute value in it, so it's the absolute
Which is
value
why it ends at 0. It doesn't go,
equation.
doesn't go beyond 0.
It absolutely does. You'll see in a minute why. So it's an absolute value equation. This would have not. The absolute value of x is a positive number, but the absolute value of x minus 1 could be negative. Good. Now, every time I'm asked to graph a function, the first thought is domain. That's mandatory. So we didn't do it here because the linear function really is not a sophisticated function. It's just the simplest possible function. You can't find anything simpler than a linear function. But I'm going to ask you here, what is the domain of this function? By domain, that's another concept for our little notebook. What is the domain? What is the concept of domain?
All x values.
Exactly. What I can plug in the function. Exactly. So what can I plug in this function? Any number I want. Any number I want, any real number can be multiplied by -1/2. So no restrictions. How do I write that when I say no restrictions? Negative infinity to infinity. That's the way we write the domain of the function. Good. Can anyone identify the range?
I think I got it mixed up earlier. Because of the absolute value, the range is what doesn't go below 0.
I agree. That's what I'm getting at. Dimitri?
I was going to say the range is also negative.
Awesome.
Infinity.
Negative infinity to infinity. Awesome. Because the line goes on forever. Exactly. Domain. Domain means from the leftmost point for x till the rightmost point for x. Range means from the lowest possible y value till the largest possible y value. That's why they're both all real numbers. Any questions on that? Okay, so now we're talking about the absolute value function or equation. What is the domain of this function? In other words, are there any restrictions? Or can I plug in anything I want? If you say I can plug in anything I want for x, then it's all real numbers.
You could technically, but what you get out of it is limited.
No. Not in the sense that it's limited in the sense that it will always exist, but it's limited in values.
Yes.
I agree, but it's not limited in the sense that I would get a possible undefined situation.
That's not what
I agree. I agree with you then. Good. So what is a domain? Let's stick with the domain first. That's what I need. Right. Indeed. No restrictions. I can plug in whatever I want. I highly recommend the horizontal chart. Of course, if you prefer a vertical one, you can use it. The reason why I recommend the horizontal chart is because the x-axis is horizontal. The x values go from left to right. Good. So you already told me negative infinity to infinity. So now let's pick some values. Some x values. Let's say -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. Way too many. Good. So let's plug in -3. Please plug in -3 in the function. Remind everyone what is the absolute value of -3. What does it equal to?
3.
Do we all agree that the absolute value of -3 is 3? Okay.
Minus 1 is
So
2.
then 3 minus 1, and we get 2. I agree. So please take a moment and plug in -2.
1.
Very good. The absolute value of -2 is 2, and 2 minus 1 is 1. Perfect. So let's take a moment and plug in -1.
Was it
0, I agree. Let's take a moment and plug in 0. -1. Does everyone understand what we're doing? Please raise your hand if you don't be shy.
I thought
Okay.
you said raise your hand.
Okay. Very good. Number 1. When we plug in 1,
0.
0. When we plug in 2, 1. Do you all agree with these? Okay. Ready to graph this function? Very good. Well done. From left to right, please give me the first ordered pair you would like me to plot.
0, 0.
From left to right, please give me the first ordered pair you would like me to plot. Very good. First one is there.
0, -1. Or
Next one in line.
-2, 1.
Very good. -2, 1. It's okay. Next one.
-1, 0.
Awesome. Next one.
0, -1.
Perfect. Next one.
1, 0.
Very good. Good. This is the graph. I have to write the name or the equation, in other words, somewhere so I know what I graphed. And of course, now I'm going to ask what? I'm going to ask the range, of course. Very good. From the lowest y value till the highest y value. What do I use? A bracket, parenthesis? Do you all agree with the bracket? Because the point, exactly, the point exists. Awesome. Very good. Okay, I still have 9 minutes. Let's move on to equations. 1.2. Anyone has any questions for me, please? Let's stop for a moment. Any questions for me? Any questions? Okay, so on page 120, so this is linear equations and rational equations. So equations, I'm going to call it. This is 1.2. I would like to start with problem 16. In which we have 45 minus bracket 4 minus 2y minus 4 parentheses y plus 7, close the bracket, equals -4 parentheses 1 plus 3y minus bracket 4 minus 3y plus 2 minus 2, 2y minus 5. It's an overkill. Good. So where do I start? What type of equation is it? Let's identify it.
The equation I don't want to have any part in.
However, you will contribute, I'm sure.
I'll have to.
Please. Okay, what type is it? First, we have to identify the type. Are there products of variables?
There's one variable.
Good. So there are no products of variables. Do we see variables in the denominator?
No.
No. What is the power of the variable?
1.
Conclusion? Awesome.
There's
Linear.
some confusion to make, but by your logic, it makes sense, so I'm not
Awesome.
going to argue.
Thank you. Thank you. I love it when my students agree with me. Good. So now where do we start?
Agree is a funny word for me to use, but okay.
Okay, I take it back then. So what do we do? Where is the starting point, please?
45? I don't know.
Like how to simplify it.
Right. How do I do that? Where is the starting point?
So would you first try to factor out that -4 to y plus 7?
Exactly. This is my first priority. Parentheses. I want to clear parentheses. I want them to disappear. That's my first step, first priority. Wonderful. Thank you. So, the left-hand side, everything else gets copied to the T. So 45 minus, bracket, 4 minus 2y. Now, please give me two terms.
Y plus 7.
-4y minus 20.
Negative 4y minus 28. Awesome. Do we all agree with negative 4y minus 28? Except, remember your name?
Thomas.
Okay, except, yes, except Tom.
Yeah.
So when it comes to
Wait,
agreements,
where do you get the 4y
I'm not going to
minus
ask Tom
28?
because he doesn't want to agree all the time.
I'm just confused.
Negative 4 times y is negative 4y. Negative 4 times 7 is
Okay,
negative
all
28.
I see.
Do you need paper to write on? I have
No,
some for you.
It's just been a few months since I've done it.
That's okay, but look. Here it is.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Very good. So now we reach the equal symbol. Now we're here. Can anyone dictate the next step?
-4 minus 12y.
Do you all agree with negative 4 minus 12y, except Tom?
Yes.
I only meant in the context of.
I know, I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. We want to laugh a little bit. I'm trying to make you smile. I'm
Well,
trying.
There you
I'm
go.
not successful. Okay, you already did. Thank you. Okay, so then 4. Now I'm here and I want to clear those parentheses. What do I write?
3y plus 6. No?
-3y minus 6.
Very good. So now we're here.
-4y plus 10.
Negative 4y plus 10. Do we all agree with this?
Yeah.
Awesome. Good. So now we have to combine like terms in brackets first, and then decide what to do next. Ready? So 45 minus. Can anyone give us the simplified form of 4 minus 2y minus 4y minus 28? And I prefer to present this quantity in descending order. So give me the term with y first and the term with no y.
-6y.
Yes?
Minus 24.
Very good.
Yeah.
Negative 6y minus 24. Yes?
Yep.
Acceptable? Okay, equals. There's nothing we can do to the outside. So this is negative 4 minus 12y, but I need the simplified form here, minus outside and the bracket. In descending order, please. So negative 7y, is that correct?
Yep.
And then 10 plus 4 is 14 minus 6 is positive 8. Perfect. Okay, we are much closer now. So the next step would be 45. Now I'm ready to eliminate brackets.
I know you
45.
get this all the time with every class, and everybody asks this, but how are we going to use this?
Solving linear equations?
I mean, it's something this complicated. It's just, forget I asked. So how about we just move on
Okay,
and get going with this?
good. So then I want to eliminate brackets. How do I do that? What would be my next step?
Distribute.
Very good. So what do I write?
45 plus 6y.
Very
plus
good.
24.
Awesome. Equals. I'm here now. I have to copy negative 4. I have to copy negative 12y. And then,
Plus 7y minus 8.
very good. Awesome. Now I have to combine both sides separately and then decide what to do. So 6y in descending order and then plus 79, I'm sorry, 69, forgive me. 69 equals, combine like terms, this was positive 7y, so this is negative 5y and minus 12. Do you all, we're all here, yes? Okay, now I know you are used to writing minus, minus, plus, plus, and move, blah, blah, blah. I recommend this, it's a recommendation, a suggestion. Anytime I want this term to go here, all I have to do is change its sign. Every time I want this term to go here, all I have to do is change its sign. And that will cut back on writing. So what I'm saying is, I want y on the left-hand side. I need this to be moved to the left, and I want this to be moved to the right. When I move negative 5y to the left, all I do is change its sign. 6y, and I'm bringing a 5y. So this is 11y. I have a negative 12, and I'm bringing negative 69. Negative 12 minus 69, that's 81. So minus 81. Final step, and that's the final solution. Again, I'm not
Divide both sides by 11.
very good. So this is negative 81 divided by 11. So it's not